أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum and welcome everybody to today's lesson. Just a quick reminder before we start. I hope that you are all in wudu. You all have your head covered. You're sitting in a quiet place and you have used your correct ID to enter into this classroom. Okay, we are going to begin today with our daily dua. So if we could have a student on the mic, please, to recite after me.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Our first student is G1 335.
G1 335. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
How are you today, G1 335?
Fine, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. And you can see the screen okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. So what we will do is we will start with Tawud and Tasmiyah, and then we will begin with today's prayer. So let me just move on to Tawud. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
Excellent. So if we start at the beginning from here. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
Good. Minash shaitanir rajim.
Minash shaitanir rajim.
Very good. And could you read the translation for me, please?
I seek refuge with Allah from Satan the rejected.
From Satan the rejected. Well done. Excellent. So just a reminder as to why we recite the word before reciting Quran. Allah tells us in the Quran, and when thou recitest the Quran, seek refuge with Allah from Satan the rejected. Chapter 16, verse 99. So we always begin the Quran by reciting the word. Okay, let's go on to Bismillah. 1 second. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
And the translation, please.
In the name of Allah, the gracious and merciful.
Excellent, well done. Again, we recite Bismillah before every deed which invokes the blessings of Allah upon that deed. And it's a sunnah to recite this before every good deed. Okay, we'll now move on to Wednesday's prayer of the day, okay, which is this one. Okay, so I'm going to recite it and then you follow after me. Rabbi allimni ma huwa khayrun indak.
Rabbi alamin.
Rabbi allimni.
Rabbi alamin.
Allimni.
Allimni.
Ma huwa.
Ma huwa.
Khayrun indak.
Khayrun indak.
Very good effort. Khayrun indak.
Khayrun indak.
Very good. And the English translation?
Oh my Lord, teach me what is best for me in your knowledge.
Good. And that is taken from Tadkhira. And that Tadkhira is Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian, the promised Messiah and Mahdi al-Islam, had many true dreams and visions and revelations. And all of these are collected together in Tadkhira. Okay? So that is the prayer for today. And every Wednesday you will be reciting this prayer as a class. So before we move on, we are just quickly going to go on to our class etiquettes. Our class etiquettes, remember that we said at the beginning, you have to have the correct ID, you have to be in ablution, you should have your clean clothes on, you should have your head covered, you should have a quiet place to recite, and you should have parental supervision as well. So this is the first week, so we're giving you lots of reminders so that everybody knows how to partake of this class, how to take part. Okay, so now we are going to go on and we're going to look at what we will be studying in today's lesson. So in today's class, which is Wednesday, we are going to be looking at combined letters. combined letters. The material that you will need for today's lesson is going to be provided obviously on the screen, but if you have the hard copy of the Talimul-Quran, it is lesson number 4, and we'll be looking at pages 37 to 39. And then we'll be covering the practice text, which starts at exercise 4.1. Okay, so we're going to move straight on. In the last few days, you have been looking at a few different things in the class. You've covered Arabic letters. In yesterday's class, you covered how many letters there were in the alphabet and the idea of thick and thin sounds as well. And if you remember, there are 29 Arabic letters and 7 of those have a thick sound, and the rest of them have thin sounds, or they're smiley letters. You make a smile and then you say the letters softly. Okay. Now, in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at how to put these letters together to make words. So the thing that we need to be mindful of is that in Arabic, the letters often change their shape depending on where they are placed in a word, whether that's at the beginning of a word, in the middle of the word, or at the end of the word. Okay, so if a letter is at the beginning of the word, it is the initial letter, the first letter. If it is in the middle of a word, it is the medial letter. And if it is at the end of a word, it is the final letter. Okay, at the beginning we have here isolated. That means when you have written a letter by itself, what it looks like. So as you can see, just from looking at this exercise, you can see that when you're looking at the Arabic letters isolated, they sometimes can look very, very different from how they look when they are in a word. Okay, so what we are going to do is we're going to have a student on the mic and we're going to talk through all the letters, what they look like, how they are placed, and we are just going to recite the name or say the name of the letter. Okay, so if I could have our next student, please.
Yes, our next student is G1 502.
502. G1 502. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
How are you today? How are you today?
I am fine.
Alhamdulillah, that's good to hear. So are you ready to start reciting with me in today's lesson?
Yes.
Excellent. So we're going to start with Tawuz and Tasmiyah. So just a reminder, even though we've recited at the beginning, every student, when they come on the mic or if they're reciting anything at home by themselves, which they should be doing, they should be following the teacher by themselves at home, they should also recite Tawuz and Tasmiyah before they recite. Okay, so A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. A'udhu billahi.
A'udhu billahi.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
I didn't know this. I know it's the ins.
Sorry, do you need help with the Tawuz?
Yes, because I never said that.
Okay, let's go back to here and I'll just show you. Okay, just a second, and then we can read it together. Okay. A'udhu billahi.
A'udhu
billahi minash shaitan. Minash shaitani.
Tani.
Minash shaitanir rajim.
Rajim.
Good effort. And Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Good, well done. So every day when you practice, when the teacher comes on at the beginning of the lesson and a student comes to the mic, make sure that every single day you're practicing with the teacher, even if you are not on the mic, your Tawuz, okay? Because then if you're practicing every day, you will learn it very, very quickly. Okay, so this first letter, can you tell me the name of this letter?
Alif.
Alif, good. So when Alif is at the beginning of the word, it is a straight line down. It's a simple Alif, and you cannot join the next letter to it. Okay, so this is an Alif, this is a Ba, and this is a Dal. Can you recite those letters for me?
Alif.
Ba,
Ba,
dal.
dal.
Good, well done. Now, this again is an alif here in the middle of the word. The alif is in red. Okay, if the alif comes like this, you can join it to the previous letter, but you cannot join the last letter to it. Okay, so if it comes in the middle of a word like this, you can join it to the previous letter, but you cannot join the next letter to it. Okay, so this is a qaf, an alif, and a lam. I'm going to say those.
Qaf, alif, lam.
Excellent, good. Now, here again, we have an alif at the end of a word. It looks the same as it does in the middle because you cannot join another letter to it afterwards, but you can join the preceding letter to it. So here we have alif, kha, alif.
Alif, ha, alif.
Good. And again, at the end, we have alif, alif, and alif in combined form. So if you needed to combine alifs together, you have to write them separately like that. Okay, good, well done. Let's move on to the next one. What's this letter?
Ba.
Ba, excellent, good, well done. So as you can see, ba is like this boat shape. And we have three letters here which have the same shape. The ba, what's this letter here?
Ta.
Ta, and this one here? Tha.
Sa.
Tha. So you put your tongue underneath your front teeth at the top. Tha, make a th sound. Tha.
It's really hard for me to do that. I've never done that before.
Okay, so try, just move your tongue to the front teeth, just under the top of under your front teeth, and make a th sound, like 3. Th sound. Tha.
Th.
Tha. Good, well done. Tha. Yeah, it's a soft sound. So this is ba, ta, and tha. Okay, so in an isolated form, this is what they look like. Ba has 1 dot, tha has 2 dots, tha has 3 dots. When you have it in an initial position, in the first position of a word, you cut the ba in half. So this little boat type shape, you've cut it in half, and you just have the first part of the ba shape here. Okay, and then you join it to the next letter and you keep the dot underneath, right? So if it's at the beginning of the word, you cut the ba in half and then you join it to the next letter, but you make sure you keep the 1 dot, right? So can we say these letters? Ba, dal, hamza.
Ba, dal, hamza.
Good. Now, if it's in the middle of a word, it makes this pointy shape in the middle like this. Okay, let me change to my arrow so that I can point it more clearly. Okay, it makes a pointy shape. Right? So you go up into the middle and you come back down again. Right? And you have a dot underneath. Right? And whenever you see a bar in the middle of the word, it will look like this. The way you recognize that it's a bar is 1 dot underneath. Okay, 1 dot underneath. So here you have lam, ba, noon, alif.
Ba,
Lam,
lam,
ba,
ba,
noon,
nun,
alif.
alif.
Good. So if you look carefully, you can see the ba and the noon have a similar shape. The way that you know the difference is the ba has the dot underneath, the noon has the dot on top. Okay. And if it's at the end of a word, you will join onto it with a slight line, but it will make the same shape as the isolated letter. Okay. So the full ba shape. So here we have sin, ba, ba.
Sin, ba, ba.
Good, well done, excellent. Thank you so much for your help, G1502. Jazakumullah. Allah Hafiz. If we could have our next student, please.
Yes, our next student is G1330.
G1330.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you today?
Good.
Excellent, good. So are you ready to start?
Yes.
Good. So we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
So we've just looked at the ba. If we look at the ta now, the ta, again, it's the same shape, like this boat shape as a ba, but it has two dots on the top, and that's how we recognize that it is a ta. So again, you cut the boat in half, and you just have the first part of the boat, which then joins onto the next letter, if the ta comes at the beginning of the word. But you have to make sure that there are the two dots on top. Okay, so these three letters are ta, ra, ya.
Ta, ra, ya.
Well done, excellent. So again, if the ta comes in the middle of the word, it takes the same shape as the ba here. So you see it going up and coming back down again, but the two dots show you that it is a ta. Okay, the two dots are very, very important. You have to make sure those are there. So this is the letter fa, ta, ha.
Fa, ta, ha.
Good. Ha from your throat. Okay.
Ha.
Very good. Well done. And if a ta comes at the end of a word, it takes the full ta shape. You just have a line to join it to the previous letter, if you can join it to the previous letter. Okay. So here we have fa, ta, ha, ta again.
Fa, ta, ha, ta.
Excellent. Very good. Lovely. So here we have a different type of ta. This is called a ta al-marbuta. It looks like a ha, which it is, and it has two dots on the top, but it still makes the ta sound. It's called ta al-marbuta. So this is alif, mim, ta.
Alif, mim, ta.
Excellent. Good. And you will see a different form of this later as well. Okay. Excellent. Well done. So we have one letter here, which is an alif, which is an individual letter. It's an isolated letter. You cannot join anything to an alif afterwards, but you can join something preceding the alif coming before. Then we have a ba, a ta, and a tha. All of those letters can be joined at the front. You can join it to the next letter. You can join it in the middle to the letter that comes before or the letter that goes after. And at the end, you can join it to the preceding letter with ba, ta, and tha. Okay. Now let's go on to the next group of three letters. Okay. We have jim. And do you know this letter?
Ha,
Ha. Well done. And this one?
ha.
Ha. Make sure ha is a thick letter. Remember yesterday's lesson. So you have to make your mouth round and you have to say ha.
Ha.
Very good. Excellent. Well done. So all of these three letters have the same form. The way that we notice the difference, again, is the dot. So with the jim, you have a dot in the tummy of the jim. So you have this big belly here and you have a dot in the middle, and that tells you this is a jim. With the ha, there is no dot at all. Okay, so the way you recognize the ha is, again, it has this big tummy, a line at the top with a big tummy, but no dot. And then when you go on to the ha, there is a dot on the top. Again, same form of a line with a big tummy and a dot on the top. So that's how you recognize the difference between the three. So let's go on to the first one. A jim, you can join at the beginning to the next letter if it comes in the initial form. The way you do that is you basically cut off the tummy from here. So this entire section here disappears and you just have the top part here. Okay, so this here with the dot underneath is jim, right? So these three letters are jim, mim, and lam.
Jim, mim, lam.
Very good. Now, next one here. If a jim comes in the middle, in the medial form, you can join the letter from before it and you can join the letter that comes after it as well. It still looks very similar. You simply have a little handle here which joins onto the jim at the beginning. So this one is fa, ain, jim, ba.
Fa, ain, jim, ba.
Excellent, very good. Now what you may have noticed is this ain looks very similar to this jim. Now the way that you can notice the difference is that ain is a bit shorter and a bit fatter. Okay, a bit shorter and a bit fatter, whereas jim has a long, thinner line and it's much slimmer. Okay, so that's the way that you notice the difference between the ain and the jim or the ha Okay, just notice the ayn is shorter and fatter, the jim is longer and thinner with the line, right? And the last one here is, again, a jim at the end is in the full form, like the initial, isolated form, but you have a line that can join to it from underneath. And this would be ha, jim, jim.
Ha, jim, jim.
Excellent. And again, this is in all three forms. So at the beginning, it looks like this. Okay, so you've cut off the big tummy. In the middle, again, you have no big tummy, but you can join it with a line that's coming from behind. And at the end, you have the full form of the jim. Okay, Jazakumullah G1330 for your help. Allah Hafiz. If we could have our next student, please.
Yes, next student is G1 470.
G1 470. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, G1 470.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you today?
Good.
Alhamdulillah, good to hear. Are you understanding the lesson okay?
Yes.
Excellent, good. So if we start with Dawood and Tasmiyah, and then we'll carry on with the letters. So, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Excellent, very good. So can you tell me the name of this letter again?
Ha.
Ha, good. Comes from the throat, middle of the throat. Ha. Okay, good. And this one here?
Ka.
Ha, ha, good. Again, ha. You have to make your mouth into a rounded shape, and it's a thick sound that you looked at yesterday. Ha.
Ha.
Very good, well done. So just like we explained with the jim, the ha, again, you cut off the tummy section of the ha, and then you can join it to the next letter of the word. So in this situation, this is ha, ha, ra, jim.
Ha, ra, jim.
Very good. Again, if it's in the middle, you can join it from the previous letter. There's no dot for ha. So again, sometimes students get confused with the ayn and the ha. But remember, the difference is the ha has a long, thin line, okay, and it's much slimmer. Each line is much thinner. And the ayn has a thicker line and it's shorter. So the ha line is longer and the ayn is much shorter and fatter. Okay, that's how you know the difference, right? So these three letters are ba, ha, and ra.
Ba, ha, ra.
Okay, good. And in the last form, again, the ha will take the full form like the isolated letter. Okay, and if you were to join it, you would join it with a small line like this if it could join to the previous letter. So that is fa, ra, ha.
Fa, ra, ha.
Beautiful, well done. So again, initial form, you take off the tummy, you join it to the next letter. Medial form, middle form, you join it with a small line to the letter that is before it, that precedes it, and to the letter that comes afterwards. And if it's at the end, it takes the full form. Okay, and the same situation is with the kha. So this is kha, alif, fa.
Kha, alif, fa.
Good, well done. So again, alif, we looked at the beginning. Alif, you can't join to the next letter. So sometimes people get confused with alam, which you can join to the next letter, but not an alif. Do I have an example of alam here? No, we'll come to one. Yes, here. So this is alam here that you can see at the beginning, and you can see that you can join that to the next letter. Whereas with an alif, which you can see at the end here, you cannot join it to the next letter, like in this example here. Okay, so the next one, again, kha is in the middle now. So it's sin, kha, ra.
Sin, kha, ra.
Very good. And the last one here, the kha is in the full form, like the isolated form, but simply with a line joining it. So this is nun, fa, kha.
Nun, fa, ka.
Very good. Well done. Excellent. And again, you can see it in the initial form, middle form, and the end form. Now we have two other letters here. What letter is this one?
Dal.
Excellent. This is a dal. And the next one here?
Zal.
Zal. Okay, so again, this is a the sound. So stick your tongue out a little bit from your mouth, put your teeth down onto your tongue slightly and make a th sound.
Zal.
Zal. Excellent. So everyone at home as well. Zal. Zal. So your teeth should be touching your tongue. Okay, and you make a th sound. Okay, there's no buzzing sound here. There's no z. It's z. Right? So this is dal and this is zal. Now, dal and zal, if they're coming at the beginning of a word, they will take their full form. You cannot add a letter afterwards. Okay, so the letter has to be written by itself. You cannot join it to the next letter. And it's the same case for dal and dal, right? So if you can say these three letters here, this is dal, alif, ra.
Dal, alif, ral, ra.
Ra. Good, well done. Now, if the dal comes in the middle of a word, and the preceding letter, the letter that comes before it, you can join, then the dal changes shape slightly. Okay, and this sometimes can be confusing because it becomes sort of like a little semicircle, and it looks a little bit like a noon, which we will look at in a moment. Okay, but you need to see that it's a very slight circular shape here underneath, like a little bowl, and it can join to the preceding letter, the letter that comes before it. So if it comes in the middle of the word, it will join like this, but it still cannot join to the next letter. The next letter cannot join to the dal that comes in the middle. Okay, so this is mim, dal, dal.
Mim, dal, dal.
Good, well done. And again, if it comes at the end of the word, it can join to the letter that comes before. And again, it takes onto this little bowl type shape underneath. Okay, so jim, dal.
Jim, dal.
Very good. And the same is the shape for the zal. The way that we recognize the difference is the dot on the top. So zal has a dot on the top, dal does not. Okay, so that's how you recognize the difference of those two letters. Okay, so this is zal, lam, kaf.
Zal, lam, kaf.
Kaf, good, well done. The next one, again, it's in the middle of the word. So you can join it to the letter that comes before, but you cannot join it to the letter that comes afterwards. Okay? Fa, zal, lam, kaf.
Fa, zal, lam, kaf.
Good. Zal. Remember, just keep trying, keep practicing zal, right? Again, if it's at the end of the word, it can join if the letter before is one that it can join to, like in the dal here, but with this case, you cannot join the waw to the next letter. So this is alif, ain, waw, zal.
Alif, ain, waw, zal.
Excellent. Very, very good, G1470. Jazakumullah. Thank you so much for your help. Allah Hafiz. If we could have our next student, please.
Yes, our next student is G1317.
G1317. Assalamu alaikum. G1317, can you hear me? G1317, can you hear me? Maybe we'll try again later.
Yes. Next student is G1316.
G1316.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. Jazakumullah for asking. Very kind of you. Are you understanding the lesson okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. So if we start with Dawood and Tasmiyah, and then we'll begin our next letters.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Excellent. Beautiful. Well done. So can you tell me the name of this letter here?
Ra.
Ra. Well done. Excellent. So Ra, as you can see, when it's written by itself, it looks like this. Okay. It's like a bendy line. If it's written at the beginning of a word, it will keep the same shape. It does not change. You cannot join the next letter to the Ra. So it keeps exactly the same shape as it does if it's written by itself. Okay, so this is Ra, Ba, Ha, Da.
Ra, Ba, Ha, Da.
Good. And remember, this Ha comes from your throat. Okay, good, well done. If a Ra comes in the middle of a word, it still has a very similar shape, but you can join it to the letter that comes before it, the preceding letter, with a short little line here, a short little join. Okay, so if it's in the middle, you can join it to the letter that comes before it. So this is Ba, Ra, Za.
Ba, Ra, Za.
Well done, good. And again, if it comes at the end of the word, again, it looks very, very similar to the initial shape, but you can join it to the letter that comes before. So this is Sod, Ba, Ra.
Sod, Ba, Ra.
Very good, well done. So what letter is this now?
Za.
Za, well done. Again, it's the same rule as the Ra. Okay, the only difference is the Za has the dot on the top. But the same rule is that you can, if it's at the beginning of the word, you cannot join the next letter to it. Okay, so Za, Waw, Ra.
Za, Waw, Ra.
Very good. Again, if it's in the middle of the word, same as the Ra, the only difference is the dot. You can join it to the letter that comes before. So here we have Mim, Za, Ya, Dal.
Mim, Za, Ya, Dal.
Very good, excellent. And again, if it comes at the end of the word, you can join it to the preceding letter, the letter that comes before it. So in this case, we have Jim, Ha, Za.
Jim, Ha, Za.
Very good, well done, excellent. Next letter. Can you tell me what this letter is here? Do you remember?
Sin.
Very good, excellent. This is a scene. Okay, this is a scene. When you write a scene by itself, you can see it's like a little tiny W. You have a little wave here, 1, 2 little bumps, and then you have a big tummy that comes afterwards. Okay, so in its an isolated form, when you're writing it by yourself, this is what a scene looks like. It looks like a tiny little W and then a big tummy underneath. When you are writing scene at the beginning of a word, you have to basically cut off this huge big tummy here, this huge big bowl, and you are just left with the little W sign at the beginning. Okay, so this is the scene that comes at the beginning of a word. So it does look different when you're writing in a word than when you're writing it by itself. Okay, so in this circumstance, on this occasion, it is Sin, Ain, Ra, Da.
Sin, Ain, Ra, Da.
Excellent, beautiful, very nice letter pronunciation. If it's in the middle of the word, it looks the same as at the beginning, but you have an extra line here, as you can see, to join it to the previous word. Okay, so in this case, this is Ya, Sin, Hamza, Lam.
Ya, Sin, Hamza, La.
Lam.
Lam.
Yeah, you have to say the full letter name, Lam.
Lam.
Very good, well done. And at the end of the word, the scene takes the full form of the scene, like the isolated letter. You simply join it to the letter that comes before. So in this circumstance, it's Alif, Sin, Sin.
Alif, Sin, Sin.
Excellent, very good. Can you tell me the name of this next letter now?
Sheen.
Very good. The way you recognize the difference between a sin and a sheen is, again, the dots. So the sheen has 3 dots on the top, the same shape, a W shape with the big tummy that comes underneath. Okay, that's the isolated. And again, it's the same rules that apply to the sin, and they apply to the sheen as well. The only difference is the dots, right? So here we have sheen, to, ra.
Sheen, to, ra.
Very good, excellent. Again, same rule applies. If it's in the middle, you can join it to the letter before and the letter after. Okay, so this is ba, sheen, ra.
Ba, sheen, ra.
Very good. And again, at the end, it takes the full form, the full isolated form, simply with a joining line to join it to the preceding letter. So this is ba, to, sheen.
Ba, to, sheen.
Excellent. And if you look at them all together, seen and sheen, you will see that at the beginning, it's like this little W shape. Again, we've got another W shape. And again, we've got the W with the big tummy at the end. Okay, so this is how you would write seen and sheen in each of these situations. Jazakumullah, did you understand everything okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. Jazakumullah, thank you for your help. Allah Hafiz.
Hafiz.
If we could have our next student, please.
Yes, our next student is G1 480.
G1 480. Assalamu alaikum, G1 480.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Jazakumullah for asking and understanding everything okay?
Yes.
Excellent. So if we start with Dawood and Tasmiyah, and then we'll work through the letters.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jazakallah. Okay, so here, which letter do we have here?
Sad.
Sod. Well done. Remember, Sod is one of our thick letters. So when we say it, we make a round mouth and we say it in a thick sound. Sod. Sod.
Odd.
Very good. Well done. Sod has a similar, or it behaves in a similar way to seen and sheen. With the Sod, you have this eye shape. It's like an eye shape with a little hook that comes off the back. Okay. And then this huge big circle or bowl shape that comes underneath. Okay. And that is the isolated form. In the same way that with sheen and seen, you cut off this big bowl shape, this big tummy shape, you do the same thing when you are joining Sod in a word. So if the Sod comes at the beginning of a word, you will keep the eye shape, which comes at the beginning with the hook here, and then you would make a tiny little line in order to join it to the next letter. And that's how you recognize that this is a Sod. Okay, so you take the whole of the tummy off and you just have this front section of the Sod in the word. So in this first instance, if it's in the initial position, the first position, this is Sod, Alif, Ra.
Sod, Alif, Ra.
Good, well done. If it's in the middle, again, it looks very similar to how it would look at the beginning. You simply have an added line to join it to the preceding letter, the letter that comes before. But you can join it to the letter that comes before and the letter that comes after. So in this case, this is a meme. So this is meme, Sod, Ra.
Mim, Sod, Ra.
Very good. If it's at the end, again, it takes the full form just with an added line to join it to the preceding letter. So this is meme, ha, Sod.
Mim, Ha, Sod.
Good, well done. And again, in the initial, medial, and final form, initial and medial look very similar. The final form would have the full tummy or bowl section at the end of the Sod as well. Okay, same rule applies to the Dod. Okay, sorry, I should have asked you first. Which is this letter?
Sod.
Dod. Well done. So same rule applies. You cut off the big tummy or bowl section and you just use the front eye section with the hook if you're doing it at the beginning of the word. The way you recognize the difference is Dod has the dot on the top, Sod does not. Okay, again, this is a thick letter, so you make a round shape with your mouth before you say it. So Dod, Ain, Fa.
Dod, Ain, Fa.
Okay, in the middle, again, same rule as the Sod. You have a small line to join it to the preceding letter, but you can join a letter before and after. So this is Ya, Dod, Ain, Fa. Ya, Dod, Ain, Fa.
Ya, Sod, Ain, Fa.
Good. And if it's at the end of a word, again, you keep the full isolated form, but you simply have a little line to join it to the preceding letter. So Alif, Nun, Qaf, Dod.
Alif, Nun, Qaf, Sod.
And again, you can see in the initial form, in the medial form, and at the end form. So next letter, this one, which is this letter?
Tau.
Do you remember this letter? Sorry, can you say it again?
Tau.
Do, do,
Do.
do. Well done, good. Again, thick letter, round mouth, heavy sound. Do, do.
Do.
Good, well done. Now, do Sometimes people get confused with ta when you start writing in a word and sad. But the way that you notice the difference is ta has this line, and that line stays with the ta, whether you are putting the ta at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of the word. Okay, but again, it's a sort of eye shape that you have, and then you have a line coming down. So that's how you recognize the ta. And as you can see from the images in front, from the words in front, the ta keeps the same shape, whether you put it in the middle, at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of a word. The only difference is you have a small line to hook it if it's in the middle, and a hook afterwards so you can join it to the letters that come after. And if it's at the end, you'd have a line that comes before to join it to the preceding letter. Okay, so in this situation, this is ta, ha, ra, alif.
Ta, ha, ra, alif.
Good. In the middle here, it's in the middle form, we have ya, sin, ta, ya, ain.
Ya, sin,
Ta,
ya, ain.
very good, excellent. So we hear the difference here, ta and ta. This is a soft sound, a thin sound, and this is a thick sound. Good, well done, very, very good. Mim, ha, ya, ta.
Mim, ha, ya, ta.
Very good, excellent, well done. And it's exactly the same rule for this letter. What is this letter?
Zo.
Zo, well done. So same rule applies as ta, the only difference is the dot again. Okay, so ta and zo, again, thick sound, right? So here we have at the beginning, you can join it to the next letter. If it comes at the beginning of the word, zo, fa, ra.
Zo, fa, ra.
Very good. In the middle, alif, zo, fa, ra.
Alif, zo, ra, fa, ra.
Ra, good.
Ra.
And at the end, we have ta, ghain, ya, zo.
Ta, ghain, ya, zo.
Zo, well done, excellent, very, very good. And as you can see, initial form, middle form, end form for ta, initial form, middle form, end form for zo. It's exactly the same, letter doesn't change at all apart from the joining line, which joins it to the preceding letter or to the next letter. Okay, Jazakumullah, thank you so much for your help. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Well done. So if we could have our next student on the mic, please.
Yes. Next student is G1341.
G1341. Assalamu alaikum, G1341.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, how are you?
I'm fine. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm very well, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah for asking. Are you understanding everything okay?
Yes.
Excellent, good. So just a reminder for everyone, the reason we are doing this exercise is so that we can start to recognize how we put these letters into words. Because in the Arabic alphabet, often when the letter goes into a word, it changes its form, it changes its shape. So all of us, even if you're at home and even if you're not on the mic, you need to really pay attention. You need to really try to follow every single letter and what's going on. Okay, so could we please start with Tawuz and Tasmiyah, and then we'll carry on with the letters?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Jazakumullah, beautiful, well done. Can you tell me what this letter is here?
Ain.
Ain, well done, excellent, very good. So with Ain, you have it's like it's like a backwards three, you could say, with a small section at the top and a big belly underneath, right? So you have a little tiny semicircle at the top and a big belly underneath. If you're putting ayn in a word and that word, the ayn comes at the beginning of the word, all you do is you take off this big belly section at the bottom, this extra curved line at the bottom, and you just keep the head part at the top. Okay, so if it's at the beginning of the word, it looks like this. It has no belly, but it has this line which can connect to the next letter, right? So this is ayn, mim, ra, alif.
Ain, Mim, Ra, Alif.
Beautiful, well done. Now, this is where some people get a little bit confused, because what happens to an ayn when it's in the middle of a word is it changes its form quite a lot. It flips over the other way, and it becomes a little bit fatter and a little bit shorter, and it looks like this here. Okay, so it changes quite a lot. Again, like we mentioned at the beginning, some people get confused if it's an ayn or a ha, okay, that we looked at the beginning, but you just need to recognize it's a little bit shorter, it's a little bit fatter, and you'll need to just recognize that this, if it's shaped like this and it doesn't have a dot on top, it is an ayn. Okay, so it changes quite a lot. So this is ta, ayn, ba, dal.
Ta, Ain, Ba,
Dal, dal, dal. Well done, good, excellent. If the ayn comes at the end of the word, it keeps it an isolated form. So it's much easier to recognize at the end of the word. It still has the top hook, it has the big belly underneath. You just have a line to join it to the previous letter. Okay, so this is mim, ayn.
Mim, Ain.
Very good, well done. So ayn at the beginning, you take off the big belly and it looks like this. Ayn in the middle, you sort of flipped it over, it's going in the opposite direction, and it's short and fat, a little bit like a ha, but you just have to remember that this is an ayn, and if it's at the end, it takes the full form. Okay, so what is this letter, the next one?
Ghain.
Ghain, well done, good. So Ghain follows exactly the same rules as ayn. The only difference is it has a dot on the top. Okay, so we have Ghain, Alif, Fa, Ra.
Ghain, Alif, Fa, Ra.
Very good, well done. Next one, again, same rules as the ayn. It's flipped over, it's become shorter and fatter, and it joins from the first letter and it can join to the next letter. Has a dot on the top. Mim, Ghain, Alif, Nun, Mim.
Mim, Ghain, Alif, Nun, Mim.
Very good. And if it comes at the end, it stays in the full form. So it can join to the previous letter if the previous letter can join to it. The alif can't, so it's just been written by itself. So fa, ra, alif, ghain.
Fa, Ra, Alif, Ghain.
Very good. Well done. One thing, again, that some students get confused with is the fa and the ghain, because the fa has a dot on the top and the ghain has a dot on the top. This is a circular shape, and this sort of looks like a circular shape. But if you look at the fa, it's very much a round shape here, okay? And the ghain is very flat here, okay, at the top. So that's how you can see the difference between the fa and the ghain. Okay, good, well done. So we're moving now on to the fa, which we just had a look at. So the fa is this like a boat with a head on the top of it and a dot sitting on the top of that, okay? If you're putting it at the beginning of a word, you will take off the long boat side and just keep the head of the boat. So it looks like this. And this is fa, ra, ha.
Fa, Ra, Ha.
Very good, well done. If fa comes in the middle of a word, you can join it to the letter that comes before and the letter that comes after, okay? The difference here is there is a hole in the middle of the fa here, as you can see, it's an empty hole. So you join it, there's a hole, it's a circle, and then there's a dot on the top, and that's how you recognize it is a fa. Okay, so nun, fa, kha.
Nun, Fa, Kha.
Very good. If it is at the end of the word, it takes the same form as the initial or isolated letter, but again, there is this hole in the middle, so you can see the circle in the middle that's empty. Okay, so, and it takes the full form. Kha, fa, fa.
Kha, Fa, Fa.
Beautiful, well done. So at the beginning, it looks like this. In the middle, it has this hole in the center, and at the end, it takes the full form, but there's still the hole in the center. Okay, and the next letter follows exactly the same rule. What's this next letter?
Ka.
Qaf, qaf. Good, thick sound, qaf. Well done, excellent. So qaf, even though it has a sort of more of a bowl shape, more of a tummy shape, rather than a flat line like fa, it still follows the same rule. So if you're putting it at the beginning of the word, you take off this full bowl shape and you just are left with the front section, the head section, with 2 dots on the top.
Okay.
Yeah, to show the difference. Fa has 1, qaf has 2. Okay, so qaf, waw, mim.
Qaf, waw, mim.
Brilliant. Next one. If it's in the middle, again, it takes the same form as the fa, but it has 2 dots, right? Mim, qaf, alif, mim.
Mim, qaf, alif, mim.
Brilliant. And at the end, it will again take its full form, go back to the initial isolated form, okay, the beginning isolated form, and you have the full qaf with the 2 dots. So alif, lam, ha, qaf.
Alif, lam, ha, qaf.
Beautiful, well done. So at the beginning, it's just the head section, and then you have a line to join to the next letter. In the middle, it takes the form of like a circle shape, which has a hole in the middle. And at the end, it takes the full form of the qaf. And each time it has the 2 dots. Okay?
Okay.
Jazakumullah. Thank you so much for your help. Jazakallah. Allah Hafiz.
You're welcome.
Allah
Allah
Hafiz.
Hafiz.
We could have our next student, please.
Yes, our next student is G1 476.
476. Assalamu alaikum, G1 476. G1 476, can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah for asking. Are you understanding everything okay?
Yes.
Excellent. So if we start with Dawood and Tasmiyah, and then we'll begin. A'udhu billah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Beautiful, well done. So do you know this letter?
Ka,
Kaf. Well done, kaf. This is a kaf. So with a kaf, you have a line that comes down at an angle, a line that comes down sort of at another angle in the opposite direction, and then a boat shape underneath. Okay, so this is a kaf, soft, thin sound, right? If a kaf comes at the beginning of a word, you take off the boat shape and you just keep this initial a line at an angle and another line coming down. Okay, like this. So this is a kaf at the beginning, and then you would join it to the next letter. So at the beginning, this is kaf, ta, ba.
kaf, ta, ba.
Beautiful. If a kaf comes in the middle, it takes the same form as this initial form, but there is a small line joining it to the letter that comes before it. Okay, so you can join it from the letter that comes before, and you can join the letter that comes after. Right, so this is ya, kaf, ta, ba.
Ya, kaf, ta, ba.
Brilliant, well done. So if it comes at the end, it takes the full isolated form, Mim, ayn, kaf.
Mim, ayn, kaf.
Beautiful, well done. So initial form, middle form, medial form, and final form. Okay, next letter. What's this letter here?
Lam.
Lam, well done, excellent. Now with a lam, you have a straight line down, and then again, this big tummy shape here. If you are joining a lam, you will just take off the tummy and you would just join with the straight line down and a slight curve to enable you to join to the next letter. So here we have a lam. So this is lam, ayn, ba.
Lam, ayn, ba.
Beautiful. So next we have a lam in the middle. You can join the lam to the letter that comes before and the letter that goes after. And that's the difference from the alif. So here in this next example, we have an alif here. You can join it to the letter that comes before, but not to the letter that comes after. With a lam, you can join it before and after. Okay, so this is sin, lam, mim.
Sin, lam, mim.
Good. And at the end, it takes the full isolated form. Qaf, waw, lam.
Qaf, waw, lam.
Brilliant. So lam at the initial, in the medial, and in the final point. Good, well done. What's this letter here?
Mim.
Mim, well done, excellent. So mim, It looks like this in the isolated form. If you are joining it, you would take off the long tail that it has here, and you just leave a tiny short tail in order for it to join to the next letter. So here at the initial form, we have mim, alif, lam.
Mim, alif, lam.
Beautiful. If we have a mim in the medial form, in the middle, it changes slightly. You don't have this circular shape in the middle. You have a line that goes up, and then the mim comes underneath in a circle, and then you have the next line which joins to the next letter. Okay, so it looks slightly different. So you need to recognize that this is a mim. This is a mim because it looks different in the medial form. Okay, so mim, ha, mim, dal.
Mim, ha, mim, dal.
Very good. And at the end, it takes the isolated form, so you can keep the tail at the end as well. So alif, mim, mim.
Alif, mim, mim.
Very good. And this next letter here?
Noon.
Noon. Well done. Noon is like a bowl with a fish in the middle, a little dot in the middle. So we've got a bowl here and we've got a dot in the middle, and that is noon. Okay. Noon changes quite a lot. With a noon, you will keep just the side line, just this first side line, slight side line here, and you would take off the rest of the bowl shape from over here, and you'll take the dot and put it onto the top. So here at the initial form, you have a noon. So it's this line, and it looks very similar to a ba or a ta, okay, but the dot is at the top, whereas with the ba, the dot is underneath. So here we have noon, ain, ba, dal.
Noon, ain, ba, dal.
Good. Noon in the middle, you can join the first letter and the last letter. So mim, noon, ain.
Mim, noon, ain.
Good. And if it's at the end, it will take the full isolated form. So sin, noon, noon.
Sin, noon, noon.
Very good. So initial form, medial form, and final form. Yeah. Jazakumullah. Thank you so much for your help.
Thank you.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
If we could have our next student, please.
Yes, our next student is G1 339.
G1339. Assalamu alaikum, G1339. Can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. You understanding everything okay?
Yes.
Good, well done. So if we can start with Tawuz and Tasmiyah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Good. What letter is this here?
This is a vowel.
It's a waw. As you can see, initial form, medial form, and end form, waw stays exactly the same. It doesn't change shape. Okay. If it's in the initial form, it does not join to the next letter. Okay, so it's standing by itself. So this is waw, alif, mim, ra.
Vaw, alif, mim, ra.
If it's in the middle and the letter before can be joined to it, you can join the letter before the waw, but you cannot join the letter after. Okay, so ya, waw, mim, noon.
Ya, vaw, mim, noon.
Very good. And if it's at the end, again, it will just keep the isolated form if the letter before cannot join to it. But if it can, you can join the letter before. This is a dal, that's why it's not joined here. Fa, dal, waw.
Fa, zal, vaw.
Good, well done. What is this letter here?
It's a ha.
Very good, it's a ha. Now, ha is probably one of the most confusing letters for lots and lots of students because every place that it goes, it has a different form, okay? If it's at the initial form, it looks like this, okay? It looks sort of like a sort of double circle, right? If it's in the middle form, it looks a little bit like half a circle on the top and half a butterfly maybe, okay? And if it's at the end form, it looks like this, which can be confused with the meme, but the meme is more rounded. The ha has a straight line, and then the head of it comes out there, okay? So this is ha, alif, dal, ya, alif. Ha, alif, dal, ya, alif. Discipline in charge, do we have a student on the mic?
Yes, the student is on mute. or unmute. Can we try someone else then?
Is there someone else that we can try quickly?
Yes, G1321.
G1321. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Should we start with Tawud and Tasmiyah very quickly because we're coming to the end of our lesson?
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very good. So if you can just repeat after me. Ha, alif, dal, ya, alif.
Ha alif dal ya alif.
Good, well done. And in the middle, it looks like this, the ha. So it's ya, ha, dal, ya.
Ya ha dal ya.
And at the end, it looks like this, mim, nun, ha.
Mim nun ha.
Good. So you just need to learn these and you need to recognize the different forms. Okay.
Okay.
Can you tell me this letter?
Hamza.
Hamza, well done. Hamza takes the same form if it's at the beginning, middle, or end. In the middle, it has a little seat to sit on like this, but it still takes the same form. So Hamza, alif, nun, ta.
Hamza alif nun ta.
Good. Sin, Hamza, lam.
Sin Hamza
Lam. Good, well done. And Jim, alif, Hamza.
Jim alif Hamza.
Good. And the last letter of the alphabet, this is?
Ya.
Ya, well done. Now, ya changes quite a lot. It becomes very similar to this line of noon, ba, ta, tha. The way that you recognize the difference is the two dots. So it doesn't have any dots here, but it has two dots if you're putting it in a word. Okay.
I used to get confused between ya and ta because they look
very similar. You have a ta here. Ta has two dots. Ta has two dots on top. Ya has two dots underneath. Okay, so this is ya, alif, mim, ra.
Ya alif mim ra.
Well done. Ta, ghain, ya, zo, alif.
Ta
Ghain,
ghain ya zo
zo.
alif.
Very good. And finally, if it's in a final form, you would write the full form, which is ta, ha, dal, ya.
Ta ha dal ya.
Jazakumullah, thank you. If you could stay on the mic for a second, G1321, because we're going to do our final prayer. I just want to quickly go over the homework with everyone and apologize. We had a lot to cover today. We're sorry for going a couple of minutes over time. Today's homework is combined letters. Please try to practice exercise 4.1 that we covered today. That was pages 37 to 39. So please try to practice those for homework and pay attention to the dots and where they are. So that is your homework for today's lesson. Okay, so Jazakumullah for everybody that attended the class. If we can have our final dua. So if you recite after me. وَجَعَلْهُ لِي إِمَامًا
Imama
نورا
nuran
هدى
hudan
رحمة.
rahma.
And if you recite the translation.
And make it for me the leader, the light, the guidance, and the mercy.
Jazakumullah. Thank you so much for all of your help today. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.